You know, there's a special kind of silence that exists only in a crowd. It's not the peaceful quiet of an empty room, the one you might choose for yourself. No, this is a different creature altogether. It's a dense, heavy silence that wraps around you in the middle of a family dinner, a party, a classroom. It's the sound of your own voice getting lost before it even leaves your lips, swallowed by the laughter and conversations that flow around you like a river parting around a stone. You're there, physically you are present, but it's as if you're made of something else, something less substantial than everyone else, a ghost made of flesh and bone. And the most profound, the most gut-wrenching pain of it all is that it feels like a confirmation of a secret you've always feared was true, that you are in your very essence forgettable. This feeling, it doesn't arrive with the dramatic flare of hatred. Hatred is a fire. It's hot, it's loud, it's undeniable. You can fight a fire, you can run from it, you can at least stand before it and know with certainty that you are seen as a threat, as a presence. But this is the cold. It's a slow, creeping frost that settles into your marrow. It's the averted gaze when you walk into a room. It's the conversation that doesn't pause when you join it. It's your name, your own name, feeling unfamiliar on the tongues of those who are supposed to know it best. It's the birthday that is almost remembered, the achievement that is met with a vague nod, the heartbreak that is soothed with a platitude instead of an embrace. You are living in a house of mirrors, and every reflection shows you a version of yourself that is fading, becoming more and more transparent with each passing day. And you learn to be quiet. You learn to make your footsteps lighter, your requests smaller, your needs invisible. Because if you are quiet enough, small enough, maybe you won't be a burden. Maybe you won't give them another reason to look past you. You become an expert in the geography of your own home, navigating it in a way that avoids causing ripple. You're the child who learns to get their own cereal for dinner, who knows which floorboards creak and which don't, who understands that a closed door is a boundary not to be crossed. Your world becomes a study in periphery. You live on the edges of other people's lives, a supporting character in a story where you thought you were supposed to be the protagonist. And inside you, in that secret silent space where your soul lives, a whole universe of confusion and longing takes root. It's a constant humming monologue. What is wrong with me? This becomes the central question of your existence. You turn into a detective in your own life, scrutinizing every interaction, every word spoken to you, and more importantly, every word not spoken. You replay conversations for hours, looking for the misstep, the social faux pas, the flaw in your character that made you so easy to overlook. Was I too loud, too quiet, too needy, too aloof? Did I laugh at the wrong time? Was my opinion stupid? The mental energy expended is exhausting, a full-time job of self-flagellation and analysis. This inner world is a landscape of contradictions. There is a deep, aching longing for attention, a hunger so profound it feels like a physical emptiness in your chest. You fantasize about someone, anyone, truly seeing you, not the quiet, accommodating shell you present to the world, but the vibrant, thinking, feeling person screaming inside. You imagine scenarios where you are rescued, acknowledged, celebrated. But alongside this longing lives a deep-seated fear, a fear that if you are seen, you will be found wanting, that the attention you crave will only confirm your deepest fear, that there is, in fact, nothing much to see. So you remain in this agonizing limbo, wanting to be seen but terrified of what the light will reveal. And then there's the resentment. It starts as a small, bitter seed, planted in the fertile soil of neglect. It's not a loud, raging anger. It's a quiet, cold seep of poison. At first, you might direct it outward. You resent your sibling who seems to command the room without trying. You resent your parents for their blindness. You resent your friends for their easy camaraderie. But this outward resentment is dangerous. It feels too risky. So more often than not, you turn it inward. You resent yourself. You resent your own needs for being so strong. You resent your own heart for feeling so much pain over something so quiet. You become your own jailer and your own prisoner. To survive this internal civil war, you build fortresses. Your psyche, in its brilliant, desperate need to protect itself, constructs elaborate defense mechanisms. You might become the hyper-competent one, the overachiever. If you can just be perfect, straight A's, the perfect athlete, the flawless helper, then surely you will earn the love and attention that should have been your birthright. You tie your worth to your accomplishments, a terrifyingly fragile foundation. Or you might go in the opposite direction. You become the class clown, the entertainer. You learn that if you can make people laugh, they will keep you around. You become a source of fun, a distraction, but no one ever gets to know the sad eyes behind the constant smile. Another path is to become the chameleon, the people pleaser. You become an expert in reading the emotional temperature of a room, and then contorting yourself to match. You have no fixed personality. Your identity becomes a reflection of whoever you're with, because your greatest fear is causing a ripple, a moment of displeasure that might lead to you being cast out. And all the while you are living with a profound sense of being other. You feel like an alien who was dropped off on this planet without an instruction manual. You watch other people connect with an easy grace that seems utterly mystifying to you. It's as if everyone else received a secret script at birth, a guide to being human that you somehow miss. You feel a fundamental brokenness at your core, a conviction that you are flawed in some way that is both invisible and unforgivable. But here is the psychological truth, the one that is so difficult to grasp when you are the one living in the silence. It was never about you, not real. Let me say that again because your soul needs to hear it. It was never about you. A child who is ignored is like a plant placed in a room with no light. The plant isn't flawed for not growing. It is simply tragically starved of the essential nutrient it needs to survive. Its stunted growth, its pale leaves are not a failure of the plant but a failure of the environment. You were that plant. You were placed in an emotional environment that lacked the essential sunlight of attunement, mirroring and validation. So why does this happen? Why do parents, families, peers ignore a child? The reasons are almost never about the child's inherent worth or likability. They are almost always about the internal, unresolved struggles of the ignorers. Think of the human heart as a cup. To give love, attention and validation to a child, a parent's cup must have something in it. But what if the parent's cup is empty? What if they are so consumed by their own trauma, their own depression, their own anxiety, their own unhappy marriage, or their own desperate struggle just to keep their head above water, that they have nothing left to give? A child's need for attention can feel, to an empty parent, not like a natural yearning, but like another draining demand. They don't have the capacity to see the child as a separate individual with needs. They can only see the child as an extension of their own exhausting world. So the quiet, undemanding child is a relief. They are the easy one, the good one, because they don't add to the overwhelming burden the parent is already carrying. Their neglect is not malicious. It is a form of emotional bankruptcy. Then there is the concept of projection. Human beings have a powerful, often unconscious tendency to disown the parts of themselves they find unacceptable, their weakness, their neediness, their shame, their vulnerability, and project them onto others. The quiet, sensitive child can become a perfect blank screen for this. A parent who cannot tolerate their own feelings of helplessness might see that very vulnerability in their child, and instead of comforting it, they turn away from it. It triggers their own disowned pain. The child's need for love becomes a mirror reflecting back the parent's own unmet childhood needs, and it's a reflection they cannot bear to look at. So they look away, they ignore the mirror. The child is left holding the bag, carrying not only their own natural neediness, but also the shadow of their parents' disowned pain. We also have to talk about family systems. Families are like ecosystems, with established roles and dynamics. There's often the golden child, the problem child, the peacemaker. The ignored child often gets cast as the lost child, or the ghost. This role, as painful as it is, serves a function in the family system. It maintains a fragile equilibrium. The lost child doesn't cause trouble. They don't demand resources. They are a stable, non-disruptive element in what might otherwise be a chaotic system. Your invisibility became a part of the family's dysfunctional homeostasis. You were sacrificed in a sense for the perceived stability of the whole. And this lays the groundwork for attachment wounds. Our earliest relationships with our caregivers form a blueprint for how we expect all future relationships to work. If your primary experience is that your needs go unmet, that your presence is not celebrated, and that your distress does not bring comfort, you internalize a model of relationships as being fundamentally unreliable. You develop what psychologists call an avoidant or anxious attachment style. You either learn to fiercely rely only on yourself, building walls so high that no one can get in, avoidant, or you become clingy, desperate, and hypervigilant to any sign of rejection, terrified of being abandoned again. Both are survival strategies born from the same core wound, the wound of being ignored. It's almost funny in a way that isn't really funny at all. The incredible absurd lengths we will go to in order to get a little warm. We become master alchemists, trying to turn lead into gold, trying to conjure love from a void. We contort ourselves into human pretzels, thinking if I can just be perfect, then I will be loved. So we spend our lives chasing promotions, accolades and external validation, like a dog chasing a car, with no idea what we'd actually do with it if we caught it. The achievement arrives, there's a momentary flash of recognition, and then the silence returns. The emptiness is still there, and we think, well, I must not have been perfect enough. I need to achieve more. It's a treadmill of despair, dressed in the clothes of success. Or we become the world's most dedicated comedians. We learn the timing of a joke, the art of self-deprecation. We make ourselves the butt of the joke before anyone else can, because it's less painful that way. We learn to read a room and deliver the exact kind of humor it needs. We become the life of the party, and we go home to a crushing silence that is all the more profound because of the noise that preceded it. We are the court jesters, making kings laugh, all the while knowing we are one misstep away from being thrown in the dungeon. And the people-pleasing, oh, the people-pleasing, it's a special kind of hell. You become a mirror, reflecting back to people exactly what they want to see. You have no opinions of your own, or if you do, you keep them locked away lest they cause you become a master of I don't mind whatever you want. You spend your life managing other people's emotions, soothing their frustrations, anticipating their needs, all in the hope that if you make yourself utterly indispensable and completely agreeable, they will have to keep you, they will have to love you. But they don't love you. They love the pleasant, accommodating reflection you hold up for them, and you are left once again feeling more unseen than ever, because the person they appreciate is a ghost, a fabrication. The universe, I sometimes think, must watch this frantic, exhausting dance with a kind of cosmic sadness. It's like watching someone trying to start a fire by rubbing two wet sticks together, over and over, with a desperation that is both noble and heartbreaking. All the while, just a few feet away sits a box of dry matches. The solution was never in trying harder to be seen by the people who couldn't see you. The solution was in turning your gaze, finally, toward yourself. Because the transformation, the real lasting healing, begins not with a shout but with a whisper. It begins in a moment of quiet exhaustion. It's the moment you collapse inside, tired of the detective work, tired of the contortions, tired of the constant humming anxiety. It's the moment the question changes. It's the seismic, life-altering shift from asking, what is wrong with me, to asking, what happened to me? This is not a shift into blame, this is a shift into understanding. It is the dawn of clarity. You start to look back at your childhood, not with the eyes of the guilty child who believed they were the source of the problem, but with the eyes of a compassionate witness. You see that small child, sitting alone in their room. You see them trying to get a parent's attention, only to be brushed aside. You see their report card held up with a distracted, "That's nice, honey." You see them crying and being told to stop being so sensitive. And for the first time, you feel not shame for that child, but a profound, gut-wrenching compassion. You see that the story you've been living in, the story of your own unworthiness, wasn't written by you. It was written for you by circumstances and people who were, for whatever reason, incapable of giving you what you needed. You begin to see the fortress you built not as a prison, but as a remarkable act of survival. That wall you built around your heart, it kept you alive. That ability to be hyper-vigilant to other people's moods, it was a necessary skill to navigate a dangerous emotional landscape. That tendency to disappear into your own imagination, it was a sanctuary, a place where you could exist fully when the real world had no space for you. You start to thank these defenses for their service. They did the best they could with the tools they had at the time, and then, gently, you can begin to dismantle them, brick by brick, because you are no longer in that same war zone. This is the journey from pain to self-awareness. It's the process of reclaiming your own narrative. You grant yourself the permission that was never given to you, the permission to take up space, the permission to have needs, the permission to have boundaries, the permission to say no, the permission to have an opinion that might disagree with someone else's, the permission to be messy, to be imperfect, to be human. You start to practice using your voice, first in small ways. You state a preference for where to eat. You express an opinion about a move. It feels terrifying,
like stepping off a cliff. You wait for the rejection, the punishment, the confirmation that you have been too much. And when it doesn't come, or when it does, and you survive it, you grow stronger. You learn that some people will indeed disapprove, and that is not a reflection of your worth, but simply a mismatch of personalities. You learn to distinguish between the echo of the past and the reality of the present, and you begin slowly to forgive. This is perhaps the most difficult and most liberating part. You forgive not for their sake, but for your own. You forgive your parents for their emptiness, for their limitations, for their own unhealed wounds that they passed on to you. You see them not as monsters, but as flawed, broken people who were, in their own way, also lost children. This forgiveness is not about condoning what happened. It is about releasing yourself from the prison of perpetual resentment. You forgive yourself too. You forgive yourself for all the years you believed you were the problem. You forgive yourself for the people you hurt while you were hurting. You forgive yourself for the opportunities you missed because you were too afraid to be seen. The ignored child within doesn't vanish. They are a part of you, woven into the fabric of your being, but they stop being the director of your life, the ghost in the machine. They become a source of your profound depth, your empathy, your resilience. That child's sensitivity, once a source of pain, becomes your greatest gift. It allows you to see the unseen in others. It allows you to hear the silence between words, to recognize the light in someone that the world has tried to overlook. You become a sanctuary for other wounded souls, because you speak the language of the heart in a way that those who were never wounded simply cannot. So here we are, you and I, at the end of this reflection. We've traveled through the cold silence, navigated the labyrinth of the inner world, understood the mechanics of the wound, shared a weary smile at our own absurd defenses, and found the path toward the light. And if you take one thing with you from all of this, let it be this: you were never invisible. Your heart was always beating a powerful, unique rhythm. Your spirit was always feeling with a depth that is rare and beautiful. The love you craved was never missing because you were unworthy of it. It was a reflection of someone else's emptiness, not a measure of your own fullness. To have been the ignored child is to know a unique kind of loneliness, a solitude that can carve canyons inside a person. But that very canyon, that empty space, has a purpose. It has created in you a vast capacity, a capacity for depth, for understanding, for a love that is not shallow or performative, but deep, resonant and true. The world is full of people who are loud, who are seen, who are celebrated, but it is the ones who have known the silence, who have navigated the shadows, who often possess the quietest and most profound strength. You are not a ghost, you are a witness. You are not broken, you are deep, you are not forgotten. You are found by the only person whose recognition ultimately, truly matters, yourself. And in that deep, empathetic seeing, in this quiet internal healing, you finally truly begin to shine with the light you were always meant to have. A light not meant to chase away the darkness for everyone else, but to finally, gently, illuminate the beautiful, resilient and worthy soul that has been there all along.